Okay, here's our first assignment of the new kind of unit that we're on. Now, to understand what I'm doing here, what you're going to need to do first is look on this paper. I'm going to write a couple things. You don't need to write it down, just watch. 7 times 0, 8 times 0, negative 5 times 0, 0 times 7. Or, no, I already got 7. Let's go negative 8. Okay, 7 times 0 equals 0. 8 times 0 equals 0. That equals 0. And this equals 0. So basically, if one of the factors in the multiplication is 0, then the product, the answer is going to be 0. Okay? Now that helps us make sense out of what's going on here. We got to solve this equation. It says x plus 4 times x minus 2 equals 0. Now what you don't want to do is the rainbows, don't multiply. Okay, so I'm going to write don't multiply. You want to leave it so it's not multiplied. Okay, so I'm going to put F1 there. That's factor number 1 and that's factor number 2. Now the product of the factors equals 0, so that means x plus 4 could equal 0. Or x minus 2 could equal 0. So I find two answers out of this, okay? I mean, we box up the x, minus 4 minus 4. 1x equals negative 4, so that's your first answer. Plus 2 plus 2, 1x equals 2. Okay, you can get rid of the 1. So those are my two answers, pretty easy, okay? X minus 7 equals 0 times 2x plus 5 equals 0. So I have factor number 1 and factor number 2. Okay, so x minus 7 equals 0. Or 2x plus 5 could equal 0. Okay, so I plus 7, 1x equals 7. So 7. And then I minus 5, 2x equals negative 5. But then I got to divide by 2 because there's a 2 there. So I divide by 2, and x is negative 2.5. Okay. Okay, 7x plus 5 equals 0 times x plus 3 equals 0. So factor number 1, factor number 2. So 7x plus 5 could equal 0, or x plus 3 could equal 0. So I minus 5, so 7 multiplied by x equals negative 5, and then I divide by 7. Okay, so I divide negative 5 by 7. I need a calculator for that, because you're going to see something kind of weird happens. So negative 5 divided by 7. Okay, that's kind of a weird answer. If you get a decimal that goes on like that and just never ends, you want to leave your answer as a fraction, negative 5 over 7. Okay? And if you don't really get that, you come and talk to me. Okay? So I box up 1x, I minus 3, so 1x equals negative 3. I don't need to divide if the coefficient's 1. I have it solved. Okay, so again, factor number 1. You see how not multiplying it makes it easier. Okay, so I have 3 times x minus 4 equals 0. 7 times x plus 6 equals 0. So I add 4, so 3 multiplied by x equals 4, and then I divide by 3. So x is, if you divide 4 by 3, goes on forever again, so I'm just going to leave it 4 over 3. Okay, so minus 6, 7x equals 0 minus 6 is negative 6. Divide by 7. So if I take negative 6 divided by 7, that's a non-ending decimal. So I'm going to leave it negative 6 over 7. Okay, now the back side, you're going to notice something's a little bit different here. 3x times x minus 4 equals 0. Now, factor number 1 is the 3x. I like to put that in a parentheses since I don't have one, and this is factor number 2. okay? So 3 times x could equal 0, or x minus 4 could equal 0. So here I'll just divide by 3. 0 divided by anything, 0. And over here I'll plus 4, 1x equals 4. Okay, so 4. Okay, here's another one, so I wrap that up. That's factor number 1, negative 2 times x. Factor number 2 is x plus 6. So negative 2x equals 0, x plus 6 equals 0. Okay, so I divide by negative 2 and I get 0. Minus 6, 1x equals negative 6. Okay, so there we go. Okay, 5x times x plus 4 equals 0. So 5x equals 0, or x plus 4 could equal 0, either or. So I divide by 5 and x equals 0. Minus 4, 1x, x equals negative 4. Okay, and then the last one I'm going to do, I wrap that up. Okay, and then I got 2 factors, so negative 7 times x equals 0. That's factor number 1, and factor number 2 is 2x plus 3, or 2 times x plus 3 equals 0. So I divide by negative 7, and I get 0. And I minus 3, 2 multiplied by x is negative 3. Then I divide by 2. Negative 3 divided by 2 is actually, that works. That's negative 1.5. Okay, so I can get that. That works for an answer. Okay, that's part 1 of this assignment. Here's part 2. It's really easy. It's dividing, okay, with variables. So what I do is here's what I'm going to show you. I want to show you something here, okay? Let's say I've got x to the 5th over x to the 2nd. X to the 5th is x times x times x times x times x. X to the 2nd is x times x. So what happens is common factors can cancel from the top and the bottom, and then I get x to the 3rd, okay? But what I'm going to do is actually just minus the powers when I divide. It's that simple, okay? So I divide 8 by 2, that's 4, and then 3 minus 1 is 1, so x to the 1st, but x to the 1st is just x, 4x. So again, I divide. These two big numbers I actually divide, okay? So negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5, and then 6 minus 4 is 2. Okay, now here I'm not dividing the 8 by anything, so that's going to stay just 8, and then the power 7 minus 5 is 2, and that goes for here too. I'm not really dividing the 7 by another coefficient, so it's 7. Okay, 2 minus 1 is 1, but again, that's having a 1 is the same as 7x. Okay, and that's how you do part 2. Okay, hopefully it's been informative.